Do you know the road to Jerusalem? Does your heart ever long to go where the Son of David's lamp burns bright and the waters of life ever flow? Oh, the gates of Jerusalem, holy city which bears the name. Rejoice, O daughter of Zion, your King bears the name salvation. Do you know the road to Jerusalem? Does your heart long to walk her streets, where the golden paths lead to the Lamb, our Messiah, the Prince of Peace? Oh, the gates of Jerusalem, holy city which bears the name. Rejoice, O daughter of Zion, your King bears the name salvation. Oh, the gates of Jerusalem, holy city which bears the name. Rejoice, O daughter of Zion, your King bears the name salvation. Oh, the gates of Jerusalem, holy city which bears the name. Rejoice, O daughter of Zion, your King bears the name salvation. The name of the Lord, salvation. Hashem Adonai, Yeshua.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm glad you could join us tonight for this fourth in our series. And it's great to have you along. And my brother Aharon is here with us again tonight. So it's great that he can be here. He might tell us a little bit more about the interesting weather he's going to be facing shortly. But we do appreciate you joining us. This is the fourth and final of this first series. And if there's enough interest, we might have another one, which is the other four gates at a time that's convenient for Aharon. But it's good to see you here tonight. So Just a reminder for those who are interested, I'll be putting a link in the description in the chat box. If you're interested in supporting Aharon, the work he's doing and the time he's put into this, then feel free to click that link and give him some love, so to speak, as they would say. So without any further ado, shalom, Aharon, sorry, and how are things in Jerusalem this morning?
Shalom, Nigel. Shalom, everyone. Good evening to you there. Good morning here. The weather forecast is actually for a storm today, and up in the north, there's snow all over the Golan, all over Mount Hermon. There's a massive snow hit in Europe in places like Greece, Crete, Turkey, Italy, and that wave is going to be hitting us. And they said it was going to hit Jerusalem this evening and tomorrow. Right now, it is absolutely beautiful, not a cloud in the sky, and sunny, but it is very cold. An hour or two ago, it was about 2 degrees. Now it's about 5. So it's still chilly, but it's beautiful standing here in the sun. And it's great to be with you again. And Nigel, I love that song that was playing. Could you please send that through to me? I haven't heard that one before.
Sure.
Really
I'm happy to do it for you.
So everyone, it's great to be with you again here. And we're at another one of our 8 gates of the old city of Jerusalem. If this is your first time you're joining us, what have we done? We've done the Dung Gate, we've done the New Gate, we've done the, I think it was the Zion Gate or the Damascus Gate. And today we are doing what's called the Eastern Gate. And I'm going to turn my camera around and place it over the gate here. This is called the Eastern Gate. It has a couple of other names as well. It's also called the Golden Gate. It's also called the Mercy Gate. In Hebrew, we say Shaharachamim. In Arabic, it's called Bab Ruchma. Bab Ruchma. The Mercy Gate. Now, there's quite a few stories behind it. By the way, I'm actually inside of the gate. Normally, I would be outside talking about it, but I was able to get on the inside. Now, where I am on the inside is a very special place, everyone. This may shock you, but I'm actually up on the most holy place in the world for Jewish people. It's the Temple Mount. This is part of the Mount of Olives. It's at the bottom of the Mount of Olives. You can see here the olive trees. But we'll get to the Temple Mount after. I'm going to show you around. Normally, they don't let you up doing filming, but I was able to get through. But let's go back to the Shaharachamim, the Mercy Gate, or the Eastern Gate. And Nigel, do you actually have a picture that you can pull up from the gate, looking at it from the outside?
Yep. No, I should be able to do that. Just give me a second. I should be able to pull it up now. Hopefully everyone can see that coming through now.
So there we go. That's the typical view that people will see from the Mount of Olives. And if we've got time, I'm going to walk around to the other side and give you that view. But there it is. It's up on the wall. The walls going back hundreds of years. This gate, now there's debate among archaeologists. Thanks, Nigel. Yep. There's debate to the dating of this gate. Some archaeologists go back to the 8th century. Some say it was closed by the Muslim ruler in the 12th century, Salah ad-Din, and then it was reopened by the Crusaders. And then some people say it was actually extended by the late Suleiman the Magnificent in the 16th century. Interestingly, this gate, it's actually sitting above what archaeologists believe to be the original Eastern Gate, which in the days of the Bible was called the Shushan Gate. The Shushan Gate, and that word Shushan is named after the place where the Jews lived in Babylon called Susa. So they called it the Shushan Gate. This gate today is, and for centuries, and you can see the large stones, pretty much all limestone here, and it comes in. You'll see there's the actual wall there, and there's the top of the gate, and it comes in quite a few meters. It's about 12 meters long. Now it's closed. It's the only gate on the wall out of the 8 gates that's closed. There you've got down. Let me turn my camera around there. Yeah, you've got an archway from the Muslim period, probably what's called the Ayyubid period, where you can actually go in and out, but they close it up, and there's a reason why they've closed it up, everyone. And I think it's very important for us to discuss why. Do you remember in the scriptures, towards the end days of our Lord, 2,000 years ago, let me get in some light here, what people call the triumphal entry. Remember the story where the Lord was on a donkey? And of course, a donkey is a very humble animal, but it was also an animal for royalty. Most kings, when they were coronated or crowned, would come riding on a donkey. It's interesting, Zechariah the prophet in chapter 9 prophesied and said, "Behold, thy king cometh riding on a donkey, lowly and humble. Say to the daughter of Zion, behold, your salvation," in Hebrew, Yeshua, your salvation comes. And so he came riding from the Mount of Olives area into the city. Remember, they laid down their palm branches. Today, people come on a pilgrimage and they go on what's called a Palm Sunday walk down the temple, down the Mount of Olives. And of course, I think it was Matthew was quoting some of the messianic prophecies, particularly from Psalm 118. This is the day that the Lord has made. Hosanna to the Son of David. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And as he came down, the people were welcoming him in as the Messiah, the anointed one. Now, interestingly, so that is the typical gospel stories. However, it's interesting because Jewish people who, for the most part, do not believe that Yeshua, Jesus, is the Messiah, they're also waiting for a Messiah to come. And in the book of Zechariah, it says his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. So they're actually waiting for this thing to happen. And there's a belief that he will actually come through to the city, and that he will come in through the city from the eastern gate. It's the only gate that's on the eastern side. Now, knowing that, the Muslims closed off this gate. Can you believe that? Why would they do that? It's sad, because the Muslims actually believe in Jesus. Now, let me put a little bit of an explanation behind that. They believe he's a prophet. He's one of their prophets. In fact, up on the Mount of Olives, a church used to be called the Church of Ascension to commemorate Jesus ascending to the heavens from there. But the Muslims changed it into a mosque, and now it's called a Mosque of Ascension, to not only commemorate Jesus ascending, but of course Muhammad as well. But the Muslims, not only did they close off this gate, but they believe that this area, this gate, and this is why they also call it Bab el Ruchma, the Gate of Mercy, because they believe this eastern side and the Kidron Valley and the Valley of Jehoshaphat is synonymous with judgment, the last days. They actually call it the Gate of Life. And this is where people's good or bad works will be weighed in the balances. So they also believe in a coming time of judgment. So this gate is very, very symbolic for end days prophecy, because there is a belief, as I say, even among the Jews, the Judeo-Christian belief, that Zechariah 14, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. And we don't know if the Messiah will come actually through the city again, but we do know that it says that the valley will be split. And what's interesting is right where we are here, we're on a fault line. And I don't know if you've been following the news, but this last week, we've had about 3 earthquakes. I don't know if it's a repercussion of this volcanic eruption in, where was it, Tonga, and the tsunamis that are going around. But we've had 3 in the Jordan Valley near Beit Shan area. But we are on a major fault line right here, the Kidron Valley in Jerusalem. And so where it says the valley will be split in 2, and it's believed that by some scholars and archaeologists that it will raise up the ground, because underneath the ground there is Jerusalem's main water supply called the Gihon Spring. And in the prophet Ezekiel chapter 47, it says living waters will flow from Jerusalem. So pay attention, keep your eyes on the news, and one day we'll be reading the newspapers and we'll be thinking that we're reading the Bible, because to see biblical prophecy coming true, we might see it in our day. So I'm walking now on the Temple Mount. Now, what is the Temple Mount? This actually is part of what's called Mount Zion. It's also called Mount Moriah. Let me turn my camera around as I'm walking. It's also called Mount Moriah, the place where Abraham took up his son Isaac. Of course, the Muslims, they believe that it was Ishmael. Don't know if you know that. And this is where the angel told him not to slay his son. And he said, now I know you fear me, and in blessing, I will bless you. And in multiplying, I will multiply thy seed, and you shall possess the gates of the enemy. And that happened up here, everyone. This was what some people believe was the beginning of a new appreciation and respect for humanity, because in those days, child sacrifice was a very common cultic practice among most ancient Near Eastern religious people. It was the best and the ultimate sacrifice that you could give as like food to your gods. And now the Lord is stepping in and telling Abraham not to do that. So we've got Mount Zion, we've got Mount Moriah, and this is the place where, and I have to be a little careful how loud and what I say up here, because up here, this is actually controlled on a daily basis by the Muslim Waqf. And they have very, very strict rules. Don't know if you know this, but they managed to convince the United Nations Security Council that this place here, the Temple Mount, there is absolutely no Jewish history up here. The Temple Mount has no connections with the Jewish people. Can you believe that? When our ex-Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu heard that, he said, well, in that case, China has no wall, New York has no Statue of Liberty, and some other ridiculous statement he made. But this is what they believe. So when I've been up here a number of times and I've been talking about the 2 temples that were up here,
I've been severely warned a few times. So I have to be a little careful and a little quiet, but let me turn my camera around so you can see what we are looking at. We are up right in the heart of the Temple Mount. No doubt you've seen pictures of this here. This is a shrine. It's called the Golden Dome on the Rock. This is where a lot, not all, but most tour guides, archaeologists, scholars believe were the two temples. The Temple of Solomon that was built in about 970 BC. It took about 7 years to be built. It lasted about 400 years. It was destroyed in 586 BCE. And then 70 years later, it was rebuilt by Zerubbabel. However, in about 10 BC, King Herod, what did he do? He knocked it up flat. He flattened off this whole area. He made a massive platform. And that's why it's called the Temple Mount. Okay? It's about 12 football fields in size. He built 4 retaining walls to support it. And then right in this area here, he builds the temple, which took about 3 to 4 years. The whole complex, everyone, with all the arches and vaults and stones and walls, took about 75 years to build. Sadly, it only lasted until AD 70, when Titus and his father, the Roman Emperor Vespasian, destroyed it. You can read about that, and we only really have one source, famous Jewish historian Josephus Flavius, and he tells us the day, the month, and the year, the Tish B'Av, the 9th day of Av, when it was destroyed. And we have never had a temple here since. In the 6th century, 591, this was built here as a memorial to where the Muslims believe that Muhammad, their prophet, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, ascended to the heavens. That's why it's called the Dome of the Rock. There's actually not allowed inside, there's actually a meteor inside. It's a meteor rock and granite. And they believe it was here. Actually, even the Jewish people believe it. They actually call it the foundation stone, the place where God, began the foundation planning of the world. Some people believe this is actually part of the Garden of Eden, because underneath, as I said, is the Gihon spring. And if you look in the book of Genesis, it says from Eden went out 4 rivers, and one of those rivers is called Gihon. So it's very, I'd probably say likely that this was part of Eden. However, the Muslims, they believe that Muhammad ascended from here, and over in this other direction over here is a mosque that they built 10 years later in 701. I think I said the 6th century. I meant the 7th century. 691, this Golden Dome was built. And in 701, the Al-Aqsa Mosque was built. Al-Aqsa means the furthest place. And there's a belief among Muslims that Muhammad was in Mecca, and he was flying on his white-winged horse called Al-Buraq, and he flew to the furthest place. And that furthest place was here, they call it Al-Quds, Jerusalem. Interestingly, Jerusalem is not even mentioned in the Quran. Yeah, I'm just gonna get a few words from this man I know up here. Good morning, sir. How are you? No, thank you. So I'm doing a live tour. Do you want to say a few words? I'm speaking to New Zealand at the moment, live. What's going on up here at the Temple Mount these days? Is it pretty quiet?
Unfortunately, we can't really hear him, Aharon.
We can't hear you because I've got microphone. But anyway, thank you. Have a
Would
good
you be
day.
able to,
Thank
just before I go any, would you be able to show us the Dome of the Spirits? Because that's another potential location, isn't it, that some people consider?
I will. I'll get there. I'll get there. Yes, thank you. So, but straight ahead of you, everyone, this is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and that is a mosque. That's where Muslims pray. Right there. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, this is not a mosque, it's a shrine. It's like a place of memorial. And you'll see the beautiful stones. This is from a period called the Mamluk period. The Mamluks were from the 13th century, and they were fighter warrior Muslims, and that's their stone formations coloring that they use. Now, interestingly, you probably, maybe not, heard, and this is not a rumor, everyone, this is documented and it's well known, it's actually written in Arabic. I don't know exactly where it's written, but you can see, let me try to get closer, see the Arabic writing there? It's written up there twice, God has no son. That's a fact, been verified many, many times. God has no son. So interestingly, sadly, actually, that, some people believe that this will be the place where in the future, the Jewish people will build the temple. And there is a place, and I'm moving toward it now, it's called the Dome of the Spirits, where some archaeologists believe that actually was the place of the Holy of Holies.
We seem to have lost your video there. Sorry, Aharon. Sorry to interrupt.
I know, I can see that. There we go. Yeah,
thank you.
The picture froze on me a little bit there. So, yeah, we actually have a couple of groups, not many, but for your information, tourism has opened up again. I've got a small group coming in a couple of days from America. My first tour in nearly 2 years. So things are changing. So if you've ever thought of coming to Israel, everyone, start booking, but you will need the vaccine, of course. So here is the area of the Dome of the Spirits, and it's actually a northwestern part of the Temple Mount where we're at. Okay. Now, interestingly, this northwestern part. So here we are in this area, the Dome of the Spirits, coming up here. Now, this is where, on the Temple Mount, King Herod built a huge fortress. He called it the Antonia Fortress. If you look at pictures, you'll see it on the northwestern corner. And he called it the Antonia Fortress. He named it after his good friend, Mark Anthony, or what's his name, Richard Burton. If you've seen the Hollywood movie, he played Mark Anthony. And this is the Dome of the Spirits here. This place, one of the main reasons or arguments they believe it's here is because it lines right up. I'm going to turn around. It lines right up with a place up on the hill there called the Mount of Olives. And another thing about the Golden Gate, where we started, is that was the gate that once a year on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, they would take the scapegoat and they would take it out of the Golden Gate or the Mercy Gate and take it up to the Mount of Olives. And up on that hill up there, that is the border between the city and the desert. On the other side of that hill is the desert. And they would take that scapegoat out and shoo it out into the desert. That's why it was called the Lazazel, the scapegoat.
Interestingly, in the Mishnah and the Talmud, two Jewish commentaries, it mentions the year 33, what we call CE or AD, that year was the only time recorded where the scapegoat actually came back. So that's from the Mishnah and the Talmud. I think the famous commentator William Barclay mentions that in his commentary, and he quotes the Mishnah and the Talmud. Very interesting.
Unfortunately,
Where
your
will the
phone's frozen again.
Okay. Trying to get back on. Can you hear me? There we go.
Yep. Yeah.
Can you
Thank
hear
you.
me okay, Nigel?
Yeah, we're all good now. Thanks.
Well, I did warn you it's a cold day, so that's why it's freezing, obviously. But
Very
everyone,
good.
this will be the place. This will be the site that the temple will be rebuilt. Now, I know if you go actually where I'm standing, here is the Golden Dome. A little bit reluctant to use my camera now, it keeps freezing. But right behind that, about 500 meters, is what's called the City of David, or Mount Zion. And there is a belief that that actually is where the temple stood. Have any of you heard that argument? It's been around some years now. Most people believe it was up here. And observant religious Jews say that rebuilding the temple will usher in not only the Messiah, but it will usher back the Shekinah glory. This is one of their great motivations in rebuilding the temple, everyone. So we can talk maybe more about that in our question and answer period if you'd like. But I want to keep moving, and I know I'm cutting this short, but as I'm going to walk off the Temple Mount now. But just to give you an idea, by the way, some of the stones that I'm walking on, it's a pity we haven't got more time. But for example, these large stones here, let me straighten my camera up. These large stones here, these are original. They go back 2,000 years. Roman built huge stones. But you can see over periods that, secondary usage stones, small stones where they've patched it up and repaired. Up here on Friday afternoons, it gets pretty busy because for the Muslims, the Jewish people, Shabbat, Saturday is their important day. For Christians, the first day of the week, Sunday. For Muslims, Friday, that's their important day. And they come up here to pray, to hear their sermons. Look at these arches from the Ayyubid and Abbasid periods, and the Fatima periods as well. And of course, during Ramadan, where they fast for a whole month from sunrise to sunset. This is very busy, and on the Fridays, it has sometimes 300,000 people coming up here. As I mentioned, this is controlled on a daily basis by the Muslims, the Muslim Waqf. However, you know what? I'm going to turn my camera around. There we go. I should have done this from the beginning. I'm sorry. Not thinking. Half asleep. However, this is under the rule of the Jewish people. In 1967, the Six-Day War, Israel took over this land. This came into our hands after almost 2,000 years of being under foreign rule. And so we had it in our hands, and we could have actually flattened off that Golden Dome and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. But being a democratic society where we believe in
in freedom of religion, freedom of speech, women's rights, etc. We, as a goodwill gesture, allowed the Muslim to stay in control up here, and there was written what was called the status quo, which basically said nothing will change up here. So it's very, very, now that was back then in 67. What are we, 50, 55 years later? There's a lot more Jewish people living in Israel now, and they want to rebuild the temple. So this is what a lot of people are calling a messianic age. And so pay attention more for this site up here, which I believe is going to be the most important, hot, controversial place in the world, where it says in the prophet Zechariah that all the nations will come against Jerusalem. It could well be this site here. Now, the other thing is biblical prophecy. The scriptures say in Matthew 24, when the Lord said regarding the last days, when you see the abomination that causes desolation, you go to Daniel chapter 7 or chapter 9, it talks about in the 70th week, there will be a covenant. And this man of peace, he will start sacrifice, but then sacrifice will cease. And in that 70th week, it will be cut off. And that's what most end time theologians believe will happen. There will be a man of peace. He will allow the temple to be rebuilt. He will allow sacrifices to go on. And then during the middle of that last week, that 7 years, he will change face, and he will be exposed to who he will really be. And 2 Thessalonians says that the man of lawlessness will be revealed, and he will sit in the temple of God as God. So it's probably gonna be all related to the site here, everyone. So if you've never been up here, at least you can have a good look, and you'll see a number of pine trees along with a lot of olive trees. And there between those trees is that golden dome. And, some theories are it's going to be knocked out. Some theories are that the temple, it may not be. Here's an interesting theory, that it may not be like the size of King Herod's temple, which, by the way, was twice the height of that golden dome. That it may actually be something very simple, very portable, that's very easy to build. We know that in the Jewish quarter, we're in the Muslim quarter of the old city right now, but in the Jewish quarter, there is a organization called the Treasures of the Temple, and they actually their organization has a menorah with about 100 pounds of pure gold over it. And they have the priestly garments, the priestly instruments for the sacrifices. And I think I might have mentioned this in another tour, that over in, I believe it was Tennessee, United States, a Jewish farmer, he didn't plan on this, but he actually, I'm just walking out of the Temple Mount now. There's one of the arches behind me with some police. You can see it's pretty destitute here. No, usually there's lots of crowds, lots of tourists, but no one at the moment. But a Jewish farmer in Tennessee, by accident, by default almost, he saw a red heifer in his flock, in his herd rather, wrong word. And he got it inspected, and it was a pure red heifer. And he got the rabbinic authorities, and they came, they inspected, and they agreed. It was spotless. It was without defect, and they wanted to buy it from him, and they offered him $1 million, and he refused. He said, I wouldn't even take $1. And instead, he gave it as a gift to the people of Israel. So I don't know anything more what's happened, whether they're continuing the breeding process, but things are shaping up. As I go through, I'm in and around the Golden Gate here, and I just want to take you to one place before I actually go out of the old city. So you might recognize here, this is just inside what's called the Lion's Gate, or St. Stephen's Gate. It has a couple of different names. I'll talk about that in a minute. But right here is a New Testament site, everyone. See if you can recognize this name. A place called the Pools of Bethesda. Let's have a look and see if it's open. It is. Sadly, no one is here. But this is mentioned in John chapter 5. This is mentioned in John 5 about the man that was born lame, and there was some pools here, and a lot of sick and impotent and lame and blind, and the Lord came and he did an amazing healing here. I'm not going to stay here long because I want to move, and I know our time is coming to an end. I just want to show you a couple of things as I walk into a very strong wind. See, it's changing now. There's a bit of cloud in the sky, and it's really getting windy. Here is a church called St. Anne's Church, and this is named after what Catholics believe, or who Catholics believe is the mother of Mary, Anna and Joachim. That is the belief among Catholics. It's a beautiful church. Acoustics are superb. Lots of groups come in, sing songs. Then down here is the main archaeological site. And I'm going to whet your appetite. I'm not going to say hardly anything because I want you to come on a tour. But look at this down here, everyone. You've got different ruins from different periods. You've got a Byzantine period, a Crusader period. You've even got, we found here, remains of a Greek temple to the god of medicine here, which is connected to the story because it was a place where a lot of sick people came. And we've even got down here the remains of a dam, because they had to bring, the Gihon Spring was under the city, but there wasn't enough water, especially during the 3 great festivals where, hundreds of thousands and even millions came up during those 3 great festivals. They needed a lot of water. So they channeled the water into the city and they had to dam it up. And that's the remains of a dam right there. And that's all I'm going to show you. You're probably saying dam right now because that's all I'm showing you. But I just want to, one last thing, show you, which I think is quite exciting. It's part of the actual original pools of Bethesda that we can see with our eyes and even touch. And let me show you the sign, which says here, the south, whoops, my camera is spinning around when it shouldn't. Sorry. There we go. This is the southeastern corner of the southern pool of Bethesda. So I'm going to go down the stairs and I'll just show you a little bit, and then we'll head out and hopefully we can see the gate from outside.
We're just losing you a little bit there, Aaron.
Nigel, are you with me?
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. Oh, now I can see you. Yep. It's
right, good.
It's low bandwidth, unfortunately, in there. No, we've lost you now, unfortunately. So hopefully Aaron will be able to
Right.
join us.
Paul's a bit
Are you back now? You can maybe restart your camera there, Aaron.
Am I back with you now, Nigel?
I'm hearing you, yeah, but we've lost your
Okay.
camera.
Oh, really?
It's reacted to the weather again. It's frozen.
Okay. Hang on. Tell me when you've got me back.
Okay, we'll do. Yeah, all good now.
All right. Well, great. Just a second, because I had to take things off.
We've lost it for a bit, unfortunately. It's telling us you're in a low bandwidth area.
Nigel, am I good?
You're cutting in and out a little bit. It's saying that your network bandwidth is low, so you might have just gone into a bit of a dead spot.
Right.
It seems
so
to be
I'm gonna go-
starting to come right now.
Yeah, I'm heading out now. And I think what I'll do now, Nigel, I think, because probably I've been over my 30, 40 minutes, I'm going to hand it over to you. And while we're talking, I'm going to walk out. Well, let me just say a little bit as I go out of the gate here. Let me straighten up my camera.
Were you able to restart your camera? It's frozen again, just like the weather.
Okay, hang on. How can I do this? Yep, how's that?
We can see a new picture, but it still seems to be stationary.
Really? I don't know why. So maybe I need to go out of the gate and we'll see if the reception is better. How's that?
No, nothing at the moment.
Well, I'm just carrying on walking. I don't know if that's any better. What's that like now, Nigel?
No, we've got nothing at the moment. Just a blank screen. Oh, there we go. Something's come back. Yeah, now you're back in. Yep, we've got you now, I think. Hopefully.
Okay.
It's a bit jilty, but we've got something.
Okay, well, I'm standing outside of the old city now. I've just walked out of the Lions Gate, St. Stephen's Gate, and I'm going to hand to you, Nigel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk to the outside of the wall so that we can get a view of the Golden Gate side. But over to you, brother. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, my friend. So, folks, what I'm going to do is, in a short little bit, I'm just opening now a 3D map of Jerusalem, and I'll put a link in the description for that for those who are interested. And I'll try and give you an idea of where we are located in the city. So just give me a second to pull that up. And this map should hopefully give you a sense of where Aaron was and where he's hopefully going to be in a short period of time. Just give me a second to set that up and get that ready for you. So I'm just going to try and show you the it's almost like an aerial view. So hopefully we can do that. Just give me a second to share that with you. So hopefully you can see. No, that's not the one I want. Not that one. Sorry about that. Let's try and get the right one. This one here. Hopefully, no, it's not letting me share that one. I want to let me share that one. Oh, I see. Yes, it is. Right, let me just get rid of those. So hopefully you can see that. So in this picture, hopefully you can see now the Dome of the Rock there. Hopefully you can all see that. And where we've been, obviously, we've been up on the Temple Mount with Aaron. He's been showing us around. And so that's, hopefully you can see that. and I'll just sort of point out where we've been. You can probably notice there that's their Golden Gate there, which was the outside, and he was up on the Temple Mount there behind that. And he was showing us around this area here, and then he's moved out. Essentially, he's been moving out and down, and he should come out the side here where this road is, somewhere on the gates along there. And then his aim is to come around this front side here, and hopefully, all being well, he'll be able to reconnect with us and give us a bit more of a closer view than I can here of the Golden Gate. That's the plan, hopefully. You remember earlier I asked him to show you the Dome of the Spirit. One of the reasons was because that pretty much lines up, as you can see here. You can see my cursor there. That's where the Dome of the Spirit is. It's pretty much in line with the Eastern Gate. So that's one reason why some people think that the temple might be built there, because there might actually be enough room to put the building there beside the Dome of the Rock. That's one theory anyway. But it looks like Aharon, are you back with us yet? I haven't heard him yet, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. Yes, I can hear you now, brother. Are you able to come back on your video at all, or?
You're going to have to get me back on the video because I don't know what I'm. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, you're
Can
back
you see
on.
that?
Yes, brilliant. Good
Okay,
timing.
great. Good.
I've blabbed enough, so back to you, brother.
Yeah, well, thanks for that audio visual. I mean, you could have just done it yourself and saved me all this hard work, Nigel.
No, you got to earn your keep, brother.
It was pretty impressive audio visual. That was very, very high quality. Thank you. So, yeah, I am now outside of the city. I came outside of that, one of the other gates that we'll talk about another time. It's called the Lion's Gate, across the road here. And I'm a bit reluctant to talk too much about what's in and around here, because I think I'll save that for the Lion's Gate. But I'm going to show you up on the hill here, if we can, trying to zoom in, and I can't do that. But up on the hill there, everyone, in the distance, I'll try to get closer. That's the Eastern Gate, the Golden Gate. If you can see through the trees there. It's up there, so I'm down, probably about 300 meters from the Golden Gate up there. All in all, where I'm standing is about 300 meters above sea level, and there it is up there. You can just see the top of it in the distance. So that's the Golden Gate, and over here, everyone, is the Mount of Olives, the Garden of Gethsemane, the Kidron Valley, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the Mount of Ascension. On the other side of that hill is Bethany. So we have a lot of biblical history, Old and New Testament, and we have some prophetic to come as well, especially in this area, as I mentioned earlier. This is synonymous with judgment, with the last days, and of course, as I always say, the reason why this land here is so important in the economy of God is not just because he still has a covenant promise with his people, the Jewish people. We know Paul says in Romans 11 that they have experienced hardening in part. Notice he says in part, meaning they still have a relationship with God, but they've been hardened in that one area. And that's the area of seeing who the Messiah is. We know it's Yeshua, Jesus. But this is the place that he will come back. When he was up on that mountain up there, he said, and he wept over Jerusalem and said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how I long to gather you as a mother hen does gather her chicks.
but you were not willing. And then he said, your house, the temple, will be left desolate. And that was fulfilled about 40 years later when the Romans destroyed that temple. And then he said, you will not see me until you say, as is prophesied in Psalm 118, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And it's interesting, it says in Zechariah 14 that where it says his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, whose feet will it be? Where it says his feet. If you read the two verses preceding, it's talking about the Lord. It says, I, the Lord, will bring all nations against Jerusalem. And then it says, and his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. And that is a really interesting verse, because in tradition, Jewish people do not believe that God himself can appear in bodily form, even though there are some ancient rabbis who say that's not true. That is not true. There are what's called theophanies in the Bible, appearances of God in the flesh. And so that's a good verse that shows his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. He will perhaps come in. Here we go, up here, the Golden Gate. He will come. Oh, no, that's me. Hang on. He will come in through that gate, perhaps. And like I said, that's why it's being closed off. Guys, is that going to keep the Messiah out? Really? Honestly? And by the way, the other thing that the Muslims did in front of that gate, they built a Muslim cemetery. So they thought that by closing the gate, it's going to keep the Mashiach out. And by building a cemetery there, because the Messiah will be priestly, and priests are not allowed to walk among the dead. It's strictly forbidden, according to the Torah, to be defiled by touching the dead. Guys, this is not going to stop the Messiah. He will fulfill his word. And I think, who knows? Maybe we might see it in our day, maybe not. But we need to be prepared, and we need to do what Psalm 122 says, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And this is the ultimate answer to peace. It's not going to be a political or an economic solution. They might be band-aids and they may help for periods, but it's not going to be that. It's going to be when the Messiah, when the veil is taken away from the Jewish people and the Muslim people, they will see that Jesus, he's not just a prophet. He's the great prophet, even greater than who they believe is the great prophet, and that is Muhammad. It says every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that he, Yeshua, Jesus, is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Thank you, Nigel.
Thanks for that. That's been awesome. Thank you. So I'll now enable everyone to be unmuted. Just give me a second here. So if you have a question for Aharon that you'd like to ask, I'll just give me a second. I'm just now opening that up. So I've now allowed for people, if you want to, you can unmute yourselves. So if you had any questions from what we've been looking at today, it's fantastic. I hadn't, unfortunately, when we went to Israel in 1981, we weren't able to get anywhere near the back of the Golden Gate. So it was fascinating to see that a bit closer. So thank you for that. And yeah, some great stuff. So if anyone had a question, feel free to put that to Aharon. If not, I might ask a question while people are in stunned silence. No wonder. Any questions out there?
Hello, Andy. Dave Riddell from Nelson.
Dave Riddell, shalom, brother. The last time I saw you, you were here in Israel.
Shalom, brother. I'm glad you remember. It was memorable for us as well. My question is, I'm concerned about all the guides, hundreds of guides, almost redundant with the cessation of tourism. What are they all doing?
Well, up until a few months ago, Dave, they were, including myself, a lot of us were on the unemployment benefit, which was a little bit of water trickling into our pockets. But basically, for the first 6 months, there were, like everywhere in the world, there was all kinds of, well, it's just going to be a passing phase. But as the whole situation started to kick in, people realized this is going to be very, very long term. So I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but a lot of guides got other jobs working in security, construction, all kinds of stuff. Some of them are qualified as teachers because that's a big part of being a tour guide. So they actually got jobs in schools teaching and places like that. But a lot of people have just been really, really, really struggling. I think that's a pretty general answer. I know a number of people who had tour agencies, and they've totally closed down and they won't recover. Some they're starting to start up again slowly. Now they've had a little bit of reserve. So yeah, it's like everywhere in the world. It's been a real disaster for some. And but yeah, I don't know what to think. Even though there's tours slowly coming back, I don't know how long it's going to last. People are talking now about a fifth wave coming to Israel. So it's like where you are. It's very unpredictable what's going to happen. But great to hear your voice. It brings back incredible memories, especially when we were at Capernaum. Do you remember that time?
Oh, how could I forget? Do you tell the tourists that I saw Jesus praying in a bus park?
I can't remember that part, but I do remember where we were, and I remember how the Spirit of God just moved. It was amazing. I'll never forget that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've told a lot of people what happened there with you and my wife on the shores of Galilee. I'd love to come back, busting myself to get back one day. So don't forget me, will you?
I won't forget you, and I won't hang up my badge just yet.
Have you considered doing a documentary? That would sell well, I'm sure, around the world.
Oh, yeah. It's I've been asked to do a few things. I just don't know how to get from A to B. But this is a good new thing for me, doing Zoom tours.
Yeah.
And getting a little bit more computer and electronic savvy. So maybe that will come next. A good idea.
Yeah. Maybe start with Bethlehem, eh? That would be popular.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
Oh, good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah, you too, Dave. Bless you. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Love
Is
the
there anything?
rosary.
Is there anyone else who had a question for Aharon tonight? Any other interested parties?
Aharon, you've never met me. My name is Paul Cohen. I'm from Sydney. In Christian tradition, I believe that it says that Jesus entered through the Golden Gate on Palm Sunday. Is that a likely truth?
I would say it's a very likely truth. Absolutely. Based on the biblical gospel account. I mentioned that earlier. What is called Palm Sunday that you mentioned, where they put the branches down. He came from the Mount of Olives, which is east of the gate, and he was heading towards the city. So if he went in through the city, that was the only gate. So, I would say it's highly likely, probable, yes.
So this would have then been the Shushan Gate with a bridge in front of it?
Not with a bridge, but it would have been, well, actually, yes, there was a bridge, you're right. However, the Shushan Gate was the name from the first temple period. That's about 1000 BC to about 500 BC.
Mhm.
That was the name of the gate then, and there was a bridge. However, when Herod built the Temple Mount, and he put those 4 retaining walls, things changed a little bit. So I believe it was called in that period, it was called the Mercy Gate, which it was called also in the First Temple period. I know an archaeologist, Leon Rittmeyer, he wrote a book where he goes into very, very deep detail of the names. A fantastic archaeologist, and he gives his view, and I think he also refers to it at the Second Temple period as the Shushan Gate. But this is the thing with archaeologists, you get differences of opinion, just like everywhere and pretty much everything, and not everyone agrees with that school of thought. But I highly respect that man, so I like what he says. So yeah.
Thank you.
Have you been to Israel yourself, Paul?
Yeah, I lived there back in the 80s.
What were you doing in the 80s in Israel?
I was studying at Asia Torah.
Very good. That's just up the road from where I'm standing right now by the Dung Gate.
Yeah.
I know it very well. Good man. Good stuff.
Aaron, I understand that this is Dorothy here. I understand that the Muslims have built a prayer rooms down in the bottom of the Golden Gate, and they use it as a mosque. Is that right? On the inside.
Yeah, well, let me firstly, Dorothy, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, they actually, this happened about 15 years ago. Remember I mentioned earlier that in 1967, the law between the state of Israel and the Muslim Waqf was that it would be the status quo, meaning nothing at all will ever change up on the Temple Mount. Now, one of my lecturers and teachers in the School of Tourism, considered to be the #1 expert in Old Testament history and archaeology in the world, Professor Gabriel Barakai, one day he was up on the Temple Mount and he, by chance, saw something that horrified him. The Muslims under the ground, right there where we're talking about, near the Golden Gate, the Gate of Mercy, they were digging under the ground and building a mosque. It was illegal, but he found them. And what horrified him is they had piles and piles and piles of debris. Now, that's not just normal debris, everyone. We're talking about potentially history from the First Temple period, maybe even the Ark, maybe even relics from the actual First Temple. See, under that ground that I was walking on that Temple Mount, we are not allowed to do archaeology because the Muslims say it's the status quo. Our experts know for sure, without even second guessing, there are relics, because when King Herod built the Second Temple, he flattened off that mount. So there's obviously things under the ground. And so he found layers and layers of debris up there. So they have built a mosque. They did it illegally. What's interesting, Professor Barakai, he ordered the government to step in, and they did step in, but all they didn't demolish the mosque, which was illegally built. But what they did is they ordered, I think if I remember, it was about 140 truckloads of debris that they moved from the Temple Mount, and they placed it on all this debris just down from the Mount of Olives, and you can actually go there as part of a tour, and you can do a sifting through. They're still sifting through it until today,
And I don't know, maybe about a dozen times I've taken groups there, and you go through, you find glass, you find pottery, you find jewelry, you find arrowheads, all kinds of stuff. And there's been a few, he himself found what he calls his greatest and most spectacular find. He found a little pendant on a chain, not on a chain, but you put it on a chain. It had in ancient Hebrew the Aaronic blessing. The Lord bless you and keep you. And it was dated to the First Temple period. So he treasures that find. But it was a very, they destroyed a lot of stuff. But, it's not all gloom, because we are able to, maybe they did us a favor, because we're able to go through at least 140 truckloads of debris. But anyway, that's the story.
It's amazing. Thanks, Aaron. Well, folks, I think we'll call the official part ended there. I'm just going to finish the recordings now. So I'm just going to stop those, and thank you for